Let me begin by saying I was sold from the very beginning just solely by the language. The movie started slow, but I was very determined to see it through because what do you mean this is a film that addresses inclusion and sticks to the theme by exploring the Ijaw language, the people, and even their pidgin English? It felt like a we see you, we know your stories, and we will tell it experience for me. And I am so happy to watch such film. So now let us take it from the top. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Halimah Thebird and I do movie reviews, especially Nollywood, TV shows, and film, right? So today we are going to be talking about Blood Vessel. It is a new Nollywood thriller on Netflix about 6 victims of circumstances trying to escape a brutal world, right? The synopsis reads: brought together by chance, 6 people fleeing a town devastated by oil population stow away on a mysterious ship, not realizing the dangers that await. So this movie is a production of Charles of Play Network, and this is such like a redemption film for Play Network because this past few years, there's been subpar films from them. It was directed by Moses Inwang and it was written by Musa Jeffery David. And the cast in this film, is majorly young actors or young or new faces. Let me put it that way. And they play the lead roles in this film. So I think that was very refreshing. That was very interesting to see. And, just enjoy, right? We had David Ezekiel, he played Abbey. We had Adaobi, Dibor, she played Oyinbrakeme. We had Levi, Chikere. Guys, is it Levi or Levi? This name always confuses me. I don't know which is the correct one. But yeah, Levi, Chikere plays Degbe. Sylvester, Ekanem, may so rest in perfect peace, plays Tekena. Jidekene, Achufusi plays Boma. Budin plays Igor, is the villain in the film, is Portuguese. Kenwa plays Olotu. Bimbo Manuel plays Oyin's father. Ebele Okaro plays Tekena and Olotu's mom, because Tekena and Olotu are brothers as well. So other supporting characters include Pere as the captain of the ship, as Pere from Big Brother. John Dumelo. If you're an OG Nollywood, you gonna know John Dumelo. That's just it. Like, you just gonna know, right? He plays like a customs officer or something. I can't remember what his role was, but yeah. We also have Francis Duru. If you guys also watch old Nollywood, you would know Francis Duru as well in old Igbo Nollywood films, right? He plays Oga P. And when we had many other people. So let me start with the performances in this film, right? For me, I have like 2 stand-up performances, people that I would say, okay, yes, they definitely did it for me in this film. And that would be Jidekene, Achufusi, and David Ezekiel. So Jidekene played Boma in this film, while David Ezekiel played Abbey. Abbey was more of the main character than Jidekene was. But yeah, let me start with Jidekene. I think Jidekene's character was Jidekene himself was very believable as a revolutionary fighter. The costume, his voice, it was very clear as to who he was, right? It made it clear that he wasn't a bad person or he wanted to do bad to anybody, but he just wanted to fight for his people. Talking about how they've polluted the entire land with oil, the oil pollution thing in their land. That was Nembe. I think that's a pronunciation. Yeah, Nembe. He brought the character to life. He gave me reasons to like this character and understanding, regardless of the fact that we didn't get like too much backstory to him. I think in the present he understood who the character was and he just gave it life, right? It was very commanding and authoritative, but he also had a heart. So like there's this balance, right? Sorry, this is gonna be a spoiler. Not spoiler filled, but there will be spoilers in this review. Maybe just 1 or 2 or 3. But if you know that you don't want any spoilers at all, please, I think you should watch Blood Vessels before you watch this particular review. I would have 1 or 2 spoilers. So yes, one of my favorite scenes from Jidekene's character, that's Boma, would be when he watched Degbe get shot. Like, he looked stunned. He remained stunned. He was in shock. He lived in that moment, and I just loved it. It was so good, right? Also, the scene where Oyin was telling his story, and then he just had tears looking down the corner of his eyes. That was very communicating. It's like he feels the pain of his people. He can understand it, right? So yeah, that was very, very good. Also, the scene where he said he would take his chances in the ocean, where he was talking to Igor, right? And he was like that he should just let them go, that he would take his chances in the ocean rather than be on the ship with him, right? So it reminded me of the scene where Oyin was also telling the story of how the our forefathers, then they would rather die in the ocean than remain captives on the ship. Another thing I liked was the scene like where he was about to give in to and he just told Abbey, fight. That was like a level of communication that I was satisfied with. Like, everything you need to say is just in one word, fight. And I don't know, maybe I'm being just overly dramatic, but yes, I loved Jidekene in this film. It was so good to see him, play something different, embody a character that is not, the modern Lagos Igbo boy or something, right? It was just so good. And also the fact that, he isn't, a Naija Delta boy. He embodied it, guys. I loved it. Anyways, another character that I said stood out for me was Abbey. Guys, Abbey was in character and stayed in character all through the film, right? It didn't have so much dialogue going on, but it was very, very visible in the progression of the plot. Like, his actions were clear, his reasons were obvious. Like, you never had to doubt what Abbey would do. Do you understand? Like, and I think that was just very telling as to, his person, his integrity as a person and as a character in the film, right? He was a boy in love and he would do anything to save the love of his life. First we see him when he breaks her out of her home, where she was being held hostage, and then he keeps her safe doing the whole military sweep thingy. And then on the ship, when he had to look for mates for her, he did not think twice before he said, what, I'm going to go out for my babe. And then even till her dying moment, right? Like, every time he did something, we understood why he did and why he stood for it. Like, he was a lover and a fighter. And that's just who he was all through the film. And I think it's very important that, you are able to stay in character. Like, it was like I knew Abbey, right? So, like, I could just understand and flow with his character. Yes, so his body language also communicated clearly. His tone, the few dialogue. I feel like his character was just written for perfection, to be honest. So yeah, those two guys stood out for me. So the other characters, it's not like they didn't do so well, they were not convincing enough, they were. But just those people were, my favorite. So let's talk about Oyin. I really, really liked Oyin's character. She was the only girl in the group. She was a lover girl. She loved Abbey, all of that sweet things. But her father was against, her loving and choosing Abbey. But apart from the scene where she's contesting with her father and telling him, you know what, I am going to be with this man. This is who I want, blah, blah, blah. I'm carrying his child. We didn't really get to see so much from her anymore. She was a bit laid back, apart from the scene where she was also telling the story. Like, she was quite laid back. She didn't say so much and all of that. But one prominent thing about her was that she was betrothed to a water god or a sea god, either way they called it, and I was hoping that singular information would play like a huge role in the film, or it would interpret to something, right? But it didn't, apart from the fact that she couldn't be with her babe, or in fact she couldn't be with any man or even have a child, right? That fact didn't manifest or anything in her life, right? We also had Tekena and Olotu, the brothers that were trying to jackpot. Tekena was played by Sylvester Ekanem, may so rest in peace. And he was a selfish brother. Then Olotu played the protective elder brother. We would literally take a bullet for his brother. So yeah, they didn't really have much going on, but they just wanted to jackpot and they just got in trouble, right? They also were very convincing. I liked them. Degbe, guys, Degbe was so annoying. Degbe was like I was just like, who are you? He was played by Levi, anyone you call it, Chikere. It was this annoyingly loud thug that literally didn't have a brain. Like, that's the summary of who Degbe was. But I also think that he was very convincing at that. He even reminded me of Arturo. You guys remember Money Heist, Arturo Roman? I'm just like, when is this boy getting his bullets? Can you just shut up? And I'm happy that, he got his bullet. I mean, when he got his bullet, I was shocked, but I was excited, right? Yeah, then Igor, this is the true villain of the story, right? He is the owner of the ship what these guys have chosen to hide and use as their escape room. But because of his old dirty dealings and all of that, we believe that these people are spies and that they're out for his downfall. And then it would just become the monster, he would just become their nemesis. And his character, for me, I don't think he was very convincing. I saw division with him, but like deep down I wasn't really feeling him. I think that's the summary of what I'm trying to say. Like, I just yeah, I get it, but still, no, I don't get it. something like that, Sha. And lastly, let me talk about Oyin's father. This man was brutal. I feel like for me, he was my own villain, right? He was wicked and he was not shy to shoot. It's not like maybe Igor wasn't, an obvious terrible person, but he was after Abbey's life and he did not give up. Even in the end, he was still after his life. It's like, this boy, I go show you shege. It's like, it's a crime to love when your papa speaking, cause, God, I beg. He showed Abbey shege every time he got to. So, yeah, I think his character was also very, very clear. It was played by Bimbo Manuel, by the way. So, this movie is like a little less than 2 hours and it felt like it was that much of a time. Like, it didn't feel like it was too long or anything, because the plot definitely moved swiftly. Though it didn't start out with that, the beginning dragged a little, but that wasn't such a big problem. I mean, because once we go on the ship, it was like things just started to move, and I'm like, okay, we are here, right? But the concept of time, I think I tweeted this yesterday, that the concept, well, it depends on when this video is dropping, but yeah, I tweeted this on Saturday when I watched that. The concept of time seems to be absent in this film, and it would kind of make the plot progression questionable, because it did feel like this movie was a bit rushed just to keep the plot moving forward. But like, if I could understand the time frame of things, understand, okay, this is how many days or how many nights that they've spent, it would be easier to judge the actions of these refugees on the boats, right? I liked the story, I'm not gonna lie. It was a simple, good, straightforward one, but I just felt like, I'm like, wait, 3 nights in or what? Because I know that these people were very, very hungry, which means that Oga P had promised I was going to give them food every night. But I didn't hear them say anything about how Oga P had failed on his promise. This is the 3rd night or anything. Just like tiny bit of insinuations to help me understand how far into the days we are talking about. Because I also heard Oga P say something about 1 month, which means that they were going to be on that boat for months. So how long was this period that they stayed from, Niger Delta to wherever they got to, and they started coming out one by one, right? So let me talk about visuals. I'm not gonna lie, the visuals sold me. The most of the scenes were not like fully lit up and all, but I mean, that was because that was supposed to be what we're getting, right? Like, it passes across the point that they were not outside, they were stuck up in in a cocoon or whatnot, right? And I mean, the most part of this film is set on the ship, and I feel like I got the entire feel of the ship, right? From good visuals to angles to, yeah, it was just really, really good. Even the scenes in town, right, they felt like there was pollution in the air. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but I could just feel it from the color grading of the video to just the entire tone of it. It's like I could feel that this air is not clean. The dirty water, I mean, everything. I mean, this is setting plus visual, but you get the idea, Sha. You get the point I'm trying to pass across. There was even this scene where they showed the boat from like a drone view, right? And then the water was green and the boat was just like in the middle of nowhere, the middle of it all. I like watched that scene like 3 different times because I'm like, this shot is it. This shot is giving. I particularly loved it. I also liked the use of language in this film. It makes this movie like a really good export as an indigenous film, and not just an indigenous film, but one that focuses on the Niger Delta people. Like, it's different from the regular, right? It's not the regular Wazobia, it's not the regular epic film. It reminds me of Ololade as well. You know the way Ololade is a Yoruba indigenous film, but it's not an epic film. That's the way this one felt as well. You know, the major language in this film was Ijaw. Pidgin was even their second language, right? The only English interactions that we had in this film was, you know, the guys and their captor, Igor, right? And it reminds me of why exactly, you know, Nigerians or, you know, Africans had to learn the language of their captor, right? The English language. It's like it isn't for us to just communicate with us, it is for us to communicate with them. So these people within themselves, they would speak their Ijaw language when need be. In some other cases, they would code switch to pidgin. I also like the way they were code switching. It was like we do this thing unconsciously where we just code switch. I mean, I could be speaking English right now and I want to say something to my friend, I just code switch to Yoruba, or you know, I just switch to pidgin. It's like an unconscious thing that we do, and I liked that they also, you know, implored that into the film, right? I also liked the music. I liked soundtrack. It was good. That department delivered. It was subtle, but it was loud. It was like the right amount of everything. You know, there was this melancholic feeling and like atmosphere that was set. The scene was saddening. The characters were sad. The soundtracks were sad. Oh, guys, I loved it. It just sat like it was just the right portion. You know, when you are cooking jollof, you have to make sure that everything is right. So yeah, it was just the right amount of, you know, music or soundtrack or sound design or whatnot that they put into this film. So generally this was a good watch for me. Like, acting really worked. I liked the actors, and I also liked the fact that it was fresh faces. I mean, aside from Jidekene, Ebele, that's Tekene's mom, and Bimbo Manuel, that's Oyin's father, I didn't know any of the major casts, and it just made the experience fresh and interesting for me, right? Because I mean, I heard about Sylvester one time this year. I think it was when, you know, he died, but I didn't know him. So yeah, pretty much that. I also like the fact that, you know, Abbey mentioned Oyin's full name in this film, because I had this like cultural battle I was fighting in my head. I'm like, wait, Oyin and Abbey, I don't understand. Is it Oyinlola and Abiodun I'm dealing with? Because I knew that they weren't Yoruba, but it felt like maybe they had a Yoruba background or something. So I'm like, okay, let me just wait to find out why this person was bearing Oyin and why this person was bearing Abbey. So I mean, imagine my relief when Oyin now calls her phone, and she's like, when it's like Oyinbrakeme. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense. It just made me forget about every other cultural battle I was fighting in my head. I'm like, okay, you've sold me on this one. Yes, that worked. So yeah, subtle details like that. And it also made it feel like there was a genuine connection with these people. Yes, let me mention that I liked their chemistry as well. Oyin and Abbey, I liked their chemistry. You could feel that they were in love. You could, you know, you would just like seeing both of them together. Yes, so even though they didn't get a lot of time to prove to us that they were in love with each other, every scene that we saw them, we knew that they were in love with each other. So yeah, generally I enjoyed this, right? So before I move on, let me quickly ask you guys to subscribe. If you haven't, please subscribe, share this video if you haven't, and let me know your thoughts as we go on into the review. Guys, this review is going to be long. Now to the things that didn't work or I didn't like about this film. I already mentioned this one. It is the concept of time. I didn't know how long this movie was for. Like, because when Abbey returned to town, it felt like things had, settled down a little bit or had died down a little bit. But I mean, that must have been a while, right? So, like, when? Was it 2 weeks? Was it a month? Or whatnot? So, that was like a big issue for me. I also didn't like that some things were done to like just push the plot forward. I think Degbe leaving the hiding spot was so soon. I wanted to see more of them together, the entire team, right? Fights, agreements, laughter, a bit of bonding, such that when they start dying, I would have developed a level of attachment to these people. But I barely knew them, so I barely cared for them, right? I didn't feel, if not because of the characters themselves, if not because of the actors, I probably wouldn't have felt any form of emotion for any of the people that died. Still don't think I felt any form of emotion, but yeah, I think because I didn't know them, so that's why it was hard for me to feel them. I understand where they were all coming from. These two guys were trying to jackpot. Jidekene and his friend, revolutionary. This one had to leave home because of their parents and Oyin's father and all of that. So I know where they were coming from. I just didn't know them. I knew everything that surrounded them but them. Do you understand? So yeah, I think that Oga P. Yes, I definitely have to talk about Oga P. I didn't understand what exactly happened with him. Like, is it like he just fainted and he was off the boat? Or was it like it was intentional so that, when these guys, get caught, he wouldn't be there to face the music? So it felt like that was what they did with his character. It felt like that was what the writers did with his character. But yeah, I didn't really feel it like that, Because honestly, I thought he had died when he fainted. Only for me to now see him drinking beer. I'm like, so what happened to you? Is it like he was sick and he fainted? And that was just very abrupt. Like, it just happened, boom, and that was it, right? So I didn't like that. Now, the whole concept of betrothal didn't really sit well with me. Not because it doesn't make sense, because it does. I mean, especially in this part of the world. But because it wasn't significant to the entirety of the story. Now, not to sound crazy, but when Oyin was thrown into the river, right? I was hoping for some miracle, because I remember we've heard it multiple times that she was betrothed to the sea god. And even Abbey said, like, he mentioned something like, if you believe in it, then it's enough for it to work for you. So I was just like, okay, are we doing referencing now? All right, bring it on. So like, and I mean, that's how traditional beliefs work, right? When you believe in something, it's just enough for it to work for you. It's just like somebody praying to Shango that, strike somebody and then it happens that the person is struck down, right? So I had hopes, basically. Plus, I felt like they just used the old Bishota thing to serve as the validation for Oyin's father. I think they could have there were other ways they could have done. I mean, there was the part where we found out that Abbey was half caste, right? I mean, Degbe hated him because he was that. Maybe if they used that to justify why Oyin's father didn't want his daughter to be with him, that would have worked for me, to be honest. Because, I mean, we know how big people are when it comes to, like, cultural things in this side of the world, right? So this next one I'm about to say, guys, please, it's raining now and I cannot pause my review. I'm just gonna finish it off because I'm almost done. This next one is not bad, it's more like an observation, right? When it came to speaking the language, I think they all tried. I'm not even going to lie. Please, let me just put that in. I don't know how to speak this language, nor do I understand it, but from the accent, intonation, and how comfortable their speech felt, I think they tried. So that people not come for me and say, oh, you don't know it and you're saying that they tried. I beg you. It's just from what I hear, right? I think they tried, largely. But I also feel like it was easy to deduce that these people are not native speakers of the language. So yeah, maybe it would have been nice to spend more time getting comfortable with speaking like the locals. Like, I feel like there's this flow that comes with when something is your language. You just keep flowing. You don't pause, you don't stretch on your words, you don't pick on it. It just flows. Like when the scene where they showed Oyin and her grandmother, you see the way that woman was speaking it. Gosh, that's how a local. I don't know if she's a local or maybe she had to learn it, but the way she spoke the language was really, really good, right? So Yeah. Another thing I didn't like would be that I wasn't really feeling Igor's character. As a villain, I think he lacked somehow. So I can't actually place my finger on what was wrong with him. I just feel like he was struggling to fit in or to be a villain. It was like he was playing the villain, but he wasn't the villain. I don't know if that makes sense, right? But guys, let me just comment this shot where he was shooting. That felt like someone who could truly handle a gun and kill somebody. I'm not gonna lie, I liked that. But his character in general, it was kind of lacking. Like that scene where what's it called? Abbey released gas and then he was choking. The way he was acting, it was like he just gave up. It didn't seem like a gangster. Maybe he's not a gangster like that. Right? Maybe it's me that is deep in it, but it just didn't have that vibe of like badass. It did not give me that vibe, right? Also, the number of people on the ship, it felt like it was incomplete. So, I mean, we saw this plenty food and whatnot, and I'm sure these people are not eating stale food. So, where are the cooks? And also, it falls back to the concept of time. Because I don't know how many days they've spent on the ship, I can't say, okay, maybe they're eating stale food. But it's definitely not one day now, Abby. So, like, where are the cooks? Who is making all these fine dishes, all these biscuits, all these big chickens and stuff, right? The ones that they were eating before the stowaways came out of their hiding. The ones that they gave them that my guy Degbe was, eating and everything, the ones that were in the kitchen when Degbe came out and all. So like, where are the cooks? Also, I didn't see Perez touch any engines or whatever. Perez's character, who was supposed to be the captain of the ship, I don't know, man, like which kind of sailor? We don't even, okay, let's agree that we don't see him in action because it's probably not just as important, maybe let's just say that, right? When they now lock him up, so who is the one sailing the ship? Was the ship stagnant all through that period? That they were fighting and they had already, locked Perez up. Because I think where they are saying that they locked Perez up was, I think the next stop, Cape Verde. I think it was Cape Verde that they locked Perez up. I'm not sure, right? But I think that's where it should be. So like, were they just stuck in Cape Verde all the time, or what was the plan really? And even when what's it called, Abbey released Perez's character, right? What did he contribute to the story? Like, they don't save you. Oh yeah, what is the point of you just to betray anybody in the river? I'm like, no, bro. You don't get to just waste away. You have to be important. So yeah, I also didn't like that. Let me also add that I understand that Igor is a psychopath, is a monster and whatnot, but like, skinning meat was weird. I'm sorry. There's nothing nobody wants to tell me. Skinning meat was proper weird. And not only was it weird, it was weird that he was doing it on a ship. Because one, you don't live on this ship. You use this ship for transporting, crude and all that money that he had, right? So like, when do you move all those meat on board? That's one. Two, the other guys didn't know about all the meat on the ship. So again, when exactly did they move all this meat on the ship? Right? Like, how did they get on the ship? It's not like maybe, they were, I don't know, fishing. It's not fish, it's meat. It's proper meat. It's like cow. Like, what did he kill to get him all those meat on the ship? Right? And why was he even skinning, what's his name now? Boma. I did not see the point. After he skinned all the flesh and everything, Boma could still stab somebody. So like, what was the essence? What was the reason? In Cardi B's voice, guys, I did not understand that as well. This movie had a number of flaws that I'm just going to ignore because I'm like, what, at least he try. So yes, at least he try. So, guys, this has been long. I think this is one of the longest reviews I have done for a film, not a series, now a film. But yeah, I think I'm just going to stop here because I feel like I have said enough. If there's one or two things that I have forgotten to mention, please let me know in the comment. But generally, I feel like Child of Play made this film to tell us that, guys, I know my stuff, and you people should actually acknowledge that I know my stuff, because this is such a redemption film. It is a good one. I so I want to say something. I felt like this movie was more interesting than entertaining. I can't explain it. Don't ask me what that means, but just take that with you, right? Yeah, so should you watch Blood Vessels? Definitely. I'm gonna rate it a 7/10, which is a solid one, right? So yeah, definitely check it out and let me know all your thoughts about this film in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Click on that like button, and drop loads of comment. I am gonna see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.